I'm sorry, I have a cold, so bear with me. I don't know what, that's the second one this year. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to officially welcome Amber Hikes to the city as the Executive Director of the Office of LGBT Affairs. She's been with us now for only 2 weeks, but has hit the ground running. Amber returns to Philadelphia after having served in the Upward Bound in Southern California and at the University of Pennsylvania, where she is an alumna. Amber has a strong background in social work and community engagement, especially with Philly's LGBT community. We're fortunate to have her and excited about moving the office toward a more outward-facing and community engagement direction. She joins us at a key time. While we recognize the need we need better to address some of our most intractable issues, we face new threats from beyond the borders of this community. So I'm pleased to welcome the members of the Mayor's Office of LGBT Affairs, and if I could just ask them to please stand. Thank you. Thank you. Selected from over 150 applications, this body represents the diversity of our city, as well as the many voices and experiences of those within the LGBT community. I am confident this group will work with Amber and our office to advise our administration on ways to increase LGBT community access to government resources. They will also assist Amber in bringing vital LGBT community needs to the attention of city agencies and helping those agencies to develop plans addressing those specific needs. There is much work to be done, and I'm glad to know that we have a combined expertise and passion in place to do it. Before Amber says a few words, I'd like to have our friend Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds-Brown say a few words, as she was instrumental in getting the Office of LGBT Affairs established as a permanent part of city government. So Blondell, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Much better. What a thrill it is for me to be a part of this new chapter in the life and the work of the Office for that world which is about the business of celebrating, lifting up, and being an advocate for those of us in the LGBT community. It matters. The record needs to reflect that Mayor Kinney was an advocate and a champion at a time when it was very unpopular, before I even came to City Council. And too often we forget whose shoulders we're standing on, and too often we need to be reminded that there are those who understood it and got it long before we got to this place that we're in. So it's a pleasure for me to be here and to say that we have an authentic partnership with the members of the LGBT community. An example of the work that Mayor Kinney and I did was the hate crime legislation. And when I introduced that, I made it clear that I know what racism feels like, and I know what racism looks like. I know what sexism feels like, and I know what sexism looks like. So I know what hate feels like, and I know what hate looks like, because I've lived it as a black woman in the city of Philadelphia. So when that incident happened in Old City, Mayor Kinney, then Councilman Kinney, got it. It wasn't even a conversation. And after my staff did the homework and the research on that to discover that we never had a penalty in our codes to deal with that kind of ugliness, today it's now law. And so we need to thank Mayor Kinney for being another advocate, champion, partner on council who believed that that was the right thing to do. And I'm always encouraged when citizens remember the work that we do in City Council, like the Women's Commission for Women, the Mayor's Commission for Women, like the Youth Commission, the LGBT Commission, again, is the work of my office. And we are excited about working with the Philadelphia Office of LGBT Affairs in city government as we welcome its newest leader, Amber Hikes. What Mayor Kinney and I said then and still believe today is that Philadelphia has an international reputation as a city that celebrates diversity and has no tolerance for intolerance. It's unacceptable in the city of Philadelphia. Thankfully, we have a leader on the second floor who is not shy about making that clear to those of us who don't get it. The good news is that much work has been done. The more good news is that there's much work that remains to be done, and when you examine the track record and the experience that this new leader brings, she is well equipped to lead this office. She brings a wealth of experience and is not afraid to go to the communities we serve that are the most vulnerable. And I learned very early on in my career, long before I became elected, that you have to meet people where they are at the front line. We can't get our job done sitting behind our desk. That's not where the real work happens. We have to be willing to go to the front lines of this community and talk eyeball to eyeball to those who are being most negatively impacted and mistreated if we're going to change the paradigm of what this community has experienced over the last many weeks. The thrill for me is that she's reporting to the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Yay! And so it happens, or the work that she has before her happens because of a sense of commitment. And I define commitment as, having a time when there is no time. Time after time after time. Showing up to do the hard work in the wee midnight hours when the world is asleep, but your brain is at the wheel trying to make a difference for the community she is charged to help and support. And finally, I define commitment, and I quote, "Humanism starts not with identity, but with the ability to identify with others." It starts with the ability to walk in the shoes of others. It asks what we have in common with others while acknowledging the internal diversity among ourselves. It is about the priority of a shared humanity. I'm thrilled. My office is ready and available to be a partner, an advocate, a champion, on the front line or quietly offline, to do whatever we can to further lift up the LGBT community, because like African Americans and others, we still have a lot of work to do, but we're up to it. Congratulations.
Thank you for those wonderful introductions. Thank you, thank you. We are so fortunate to have both Mayor Jim Kinney and Councilwoman Brown here, who, as we all know, have been such incredible allies and LGBT advocates for years and decades. So thank you. Thank you both for your incredible leadership and your steadfast allyship. Thank you also to the 23 commissioners here before me. You guys are such a beautiful group. It's the first time I get to see you together. So wonderful to have you guys here. Thank you to the 23 commissioners who have pledged their time, their unrelenting passion, and their invaluable talents to this mission that's before us. I'm honored to be working here with you, and you know I'm eager to get to work, just from all the emails that I've been sending you. Thank you also to everyone here that's joining us, and everyone that's watching, I'm sure on Facebook Live somewhere. Thank you for coming out today, colleagues, friends, activists, community members, and members of the press. Your presence here is so appreciated. I just need to take a breath, y'all, because this is not a moment that I ever thought I'd experience, so I just need to take that in. As many of you know, as soon as I set foot in Philadelphia, almost over 11 years ago, I began working in this community. Like many of you, I dedicated long hours, blood, sweat, and tears to organizing in this city. And as I look around the room, I am so touched to see people that I worked with to fight LGBTQ youth homelessness, to create safer spaces for trans folks, for people of color, to try to create more inclusive opportunities for our underserved groups, to provide more safe spaces for sex workers, to strengthen the diversity of our organizations and community spaces, to help our police officers be more culturally competent, and to provide LGBT senior housing. So to have done that work and to be here now, back in this city and in this building, working with these people, I am truly so humbled. I'm humbled especially to be standing on the shoulders of the giants who have stood in this position before me. Michael Henson, Nellie Fitzpatrick, and of course, Gloria Caceres, the great Gloria Caceres. So as you know, I just finished my first official work here, my first official week at City Hall, and I'm encouraged by the support and the commitment of city government people. This is my first time in government, and I am so excited to be working with people who get it, who really get it, who understand the importance of empowering all Philadelphians and making sure that the government is doing just that. I'm encouraged by what I've seen in City Hall and in what I've seen in our community, but make no mistake, we have so much work to do here. The task before this commission and myself is a tremendous one, and I want to be clear about that. R.G. Lord once said, "It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." And those words ring truer today than I feel like they did in the 80s when she first penned them. So our differences as a community, we know, are many, and I think there's plenty of people that would think that that is a hindrance for us. But in truth, I find it to be our greatest strength. In my opinion, our diversity is our power. So it's no secret, of course, that it's a challenging time in our community, right? Many of us are frustrated. We're tired. People are angry. They're sad, confused, and hurt. And these feelings are incredibly valid. They are real. But I don't want those feelings to hinder us from our progress. So for those of you who've not felt like you've been heard, I hear you. For those who feel like they haven't been seen, I see you. For those who feel like they haven't had a seat at the table, I say pull up a chair. Because in truth, we need all the voices in this conversation. We need all of us. Our community is at a pivotal point. It's a very important point, but we cannot reach greatness if we're not doing it together. And I think we know that. We can't do it if we're divided. So some of you know me and my work. You know that I'm passionate, sometimes too passionate. You know that I'm intentional and I'm honest, also sometimes too honest. And I'm an incredibly hard worker. And we're gonna need all of those skills, but we're gonna need a whole lot more. And that is why I'm so thankful for this commission. I'm so thankful to have this team of superheroes fighting alongside me, and that's exactly what you all are. These 23 individuals represent some of the most dedicated people in our community. People who are doing intersectional, life-changing work with trans rights, faith communities, LGBTQ seniors and youth, and people of color, and immigrants, and people with disabilities, and HIV/AIDS, and on and on and on, and the law, so much more. And I'm proud to have a dynamic commission that not only reflects our community, but reflects the beautiful city that we live in. So if I could take a moment, and I actually want to acknowledge each of the commission members individually. When I call your name, please stand, and if you guys can hold your applause till the end, I'd really appreciate that. Deja Lynn Alvarez. Kimberly Brown Flint. Leonore Carpenter. Sharon Cooks. Francisco Cortez. Heath Fogg Davis. Amanda Doherty. Jason Evans. Jazz Gray Sadler. Kay Greenberg. Stephanie Haynes. Deborah Johnson. Jeffrey Jordan. Malcolm Kenyatta. Anthony Leon. Barrett Marshall. Gigi Nikpour. Libby Peters. Bianca Picardo. Raquel Saraswati. Evan Urbania. And Yoshiaki Yamasaki. I also want to acknowledge Christopher Bartlett, who sends his regards from Costa Rica. Thank you all. Please be seated. In the coming weeks and months, the Commission and I will announce our priorities for our work with the community. Our objectives will be many, but our focus will center around 3 specific and central goals. Fighting and advocating for our most vulnerable citizens, specifically youth, people of color, and transgender folks. Ensuring the city departments, agencies, and offices address LGBT issues from a place of competence, respect, and sensitivity. And increasing the office's presence and accessibility in the LGBTQ community. The time has come to unite. We are unstoppable together. When I look around at this beautiful gathering of individuals, I know a few things to be true. We owe it to our city, this cradle of liberty, to fight injustice and oppression whenever we see it. We owe it to our elders to pick up the torch and to carry it forward in the right direction. We owe it to our youth to set an example and to lead the way. And we owe it to ourselves to come together and to fight for a better tomorrow for all LGBTQ Philadelphians. So let's get to work. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask the commission to come up forward, please, and we're going to do a picture with the mayor here. And then members of the press will take questions after the program. Very much so. Me too.
Love it.
Love it. Everybody.
How you doing? Okay.
Can you be seen? They see you?
That's awesome. A plan. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
And then you still got to make work.
All right, thank you, guys. All right. And leave. Okay. We're going to do questions. Yes, okay, great. Okay, so we have, I cannot make Wilhelmina mad. She says she needs this room at 4 p.m., so I've got 5 minutes for questions for me or the mayor or Councilwoman Brown. Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes, Ernest, let's start with you. That's a great question. So this commission will have a chair, a secretary, and a treasurer, and we will be voting on those not at this meeting, but we'll be voting in between this meeting and the next. The commission will be voting. No problem. Y'all being real nice to me today.